Good morning. This is Doc with Dr. Patrick Live, and I'm going to do something that is a little different. I am going to do a live video. I can't live stream because I don't have enough followers, but I wanted you to understand something from the bottom of my heart. When I was born into this world, I was supposed to be twins. My twin died, and I didn't even know about it until I was in my 40s. Life was, everybody gets dealt a hand in life, and my life was just a mess, right? From all kinds of abuse and being molested by age 3, all kinds of garbage. You can imagine the things that happened. I ended up being trafficked, even into Canada. I mean, it was just one bad thing after another bad thing. I barely made it through high school. I was beaten up. I was abused. You name it, it happened. So by the time I was finishing up my high school years, I thought the only thing I would really accomplish in life was becoming a felon. And I thought maybe I could do a good job at that. Thought maybe I could rob banks or be a good drug dealer, because my dad was a drug dealer and died in federal prison in Miami. So that was my world. But I didn't believe in me. Matter of fact, everybody around me kind of looked at me and said, well, I think you're kind of smart, but somehow I could never put it together. I was so full of self-doubt. I was so critical of myself. Every time I started to accomplish anything or have some hope into the future, something would dash it that was beyond my control. And it would be like taking another punch in the gut. And it would be like, oh, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I remember once when I was getting ready to go to school to be an architect, and then my dad escaped from prison again, and then it was a mess. And I just couldn't do it. My uncle tried to convince me to join the army because he said, look, you're going to need something and you have no discipline. They called me the bird because not because I gave everybody the bird, but because I kept running from responsibility. I'd hitchhike from Miami to Detroit to everywhere and anywhere. I just didn't think I could accomplish anything. It was drilled into my head, I will never amount to anything. The other thing that was drilled into my head was that no matter what happened, it was always someone else's fault. So if I did a dumb decision, it was because someone else put me in that circumstance. If I didn't accomplish something in school, it was because the teacher was stupid. If something else happened, right, or if the pastor said something that offended my family, because we all went to church, which is another story in itself, it was because the pastor was messed up. Everything that happened was always someone else's fault. It was never my fault. I had such a sense of entitlement, not in the sense that the world owed me, but in the sense that anything that happened negative or that got in my way of the ideal future was someone else's fault, the world's fault. It was the politicians, it was this, it was that, it was you name it, right? I was so full of excuses, and I was so full of self-doubt that I just didn't think I could accomplish anything. When you have that mentality, right, it's really hard to see hope beyond. And so what I did to counter it is I started looking around and finding people who I thought were successful, and I started modeling their behavior. And then I went basically to a costume store and I bought a mask and I bought the clothes, and I started to look and act like those people. And all of a sudden, people started giving me opportunities, but they had no idea what was deep inside of me. The self-doubt, the anger, the rage, the hatred, the abuse, everything that was in me. Because I just learned to mask it. And as a result, all my emotions, except for anger, left. And I became this work of art that really, inside, was terrible. It took me years to fight through that. It took me years to start to see that who I wasn't bad. The brokenness within me was okay. There is this art form in Japan where they take broken vessels and they put gold in between the cracks and put it back together, and it becomes this work of art. I had to begin to heal. I had to begin to put those pieces back together, and then sometimes, in some places, use gold to bind them. I started to find that I had value just because of who I was, just because I could breathe. I also learned that I could take everything that ever happened to me, good and bad, and use it to help other people. I had to be careful, though, because I didn't want to define myself by my story, which is the temptation, right? Make a best-selling book, it's all about my story. I did that for a while and spoke all over the place in the 80s. And it was so discouraging because what I found out is you become the story. That's all you are. And I hated that. I wanted to be something more. So I stopped telling my story. Then I realized I could use the principles of the story to help other people. So there's a balance in there somewhat. But what I have discovered through all of my journey is that, number one, I'm not as smart as I thought I was, but I am smarter than I think I am. So that means I do have some brains, and I can study, and I can learn, and I can grow. So there is no challenge that I should have to be able to think that I can't overcome, right? So number one, I can overcome anything. I'm smart enough. I just might have to try harder. Number two, no one owes me anything, right? The world doesn't owe me anything. Even though I was traded off and sold as a slave up in Canada, even though all kinds of stuff happened to me, and I wish it didn't happen to me, no one owes me anything for that. I can choose to let that define me, or I can choose to rise above it. So I choose to rise above it. Yes, I'll learn from it, and yeah, it's affected me, and yeah, it probably always will affect me, but it's not going to define who I am or what I can accomplish. The third thing I learned is that, look, sometimes the best effort is still going to fail, and I'm just going to fall down flat on my face. And when I fall down flat on my face, guess what? I'm going to get back up as quickly as I can, wipe off the mud, and then keep going. I've tried some amazing things, started businesses. Some worked, some failed. Who knows about a pandemic, right? You start a business, a pandemic comes, collapses everything. You just got to figure out what you're going to do. You can sit there and say, poor me, or you can get back up and press on. Never let life define you. Never let it tell you what you can do or who you can be, no matter what. You can always rise up and start again. I've lost everything so many times, but I just get back up and start again. So never, ever give up. So don't let life stop who you can be. So that's my rant this morning. When you're tempted to give up, no matter what is going on, don't. Reach out to someone, reach in. Remember anything good that's ever happened in your life, and remember you can overcome it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It might be the hardest thing you've ever done, but you can do it. Never, ever give up. When you're tempted to chuck it in, and I've been there in some really bad ways. Don't go there. Try to stop, distract yourself, move on, do something positive. Never give up. Never entertain the thought that you can't do it. Never entertain the thought that life is so bad. Hold on to that little kernel of hope, because it can grow and it can turn into this incredible, beautiful work of art. You are a work of art. You are a masterpiece. It may not be the exact work of art that you designed or hoped for, but you can do it. So stop selling yourself short. Stop selling your body. Stop thinking that the only reason you have value is because of something you can do or how you look. Your value is innate. That's what gives you the strength to overcome all things. You can do it. So never give up. If I can help in any way, reach out to me. My email is doc@family4today.org. doc@family4today.org. If you like this video, like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to be as real as we can, because look, life is full of fakery. We need authentic truth. So let's move forward and let's do it together, because together we truly can change the world. Doc out.